Looks to come inside and fire one a goal and find the back of the net for Perth.
And the Azzurri have come back from 2 goals down to tie it up.
Cue the celebrations for the Azzurri.
Yeah, welcome. Episode 2 of 2025. This is the Perth SC Podcast coming to you from the Perth Stand Zero, aka Dorrien Gardens. As always, a big thank you for listening again this week. And we do ask that you give us a bit of a share and tell all your family about the Perth SC Podcast. This helps us continue to spread the word about the mighty Azzurri and keep telling those stories and insights from WA's most successful football club. Of course, tell all your friends that you can find the Perth SC Podcast on Spotify, on Apple, and of course now on YouTube Music, which is absolutely fantastic that you can access that on several different fronts. Another big week for the club. We've got some special guests coming up. Mark Birighitti is going to join us. Of course, Socceroo had an esteemed career all over Europe and the A-League, so looking forward to catching up with Mark a little bit later on as well. In fact, it was a big week for the NPL men's team as they took out the Ferrari Cup, a round 1 win for the Azzurri over Balcatta. And, Kenny Lowe opted for a 4-4-2 formation with Socceroo Mark Birighitti between the sticks, Kobe Sutton, Kiwi import Curtis Mogg, youngster Luca Herninger, who's been elevated from the reserves this year, and Josh Carla made up the back 4. Great to see Michael Scarfetta returning to the Azzurri this year to take up his spot on the right wing, alongside Somalia international Abdul Osman on the left, with Jamie McAllister and Sam Ryak, who returned from the east in central midfield. Leading the line would be, of course, Perth stalwarts Gordon Perkins and Ethan Banks. And it was Gordon Perkins who got the ball rolling for season 2025 with a leaping header from a Jamie McAllister cross. In fact, it was the 39th minute before Ethan Banks doubled the advantage on the stroke of half-time to send the Azzurri into the sheds with that 2-goal buffer. Following the break, Banks then doubled his own personal tally as he jumped on a loose ball in Balcatta's box to calmly finish over the top of keeper Connor Campbell before Balcatta's Ben Hinshelwood gave Etna a bit of a glimmer of hope in the 56th minute to make it 3-1 to Perth. And, they had to dig a little bit deep to thwart a few chances for Balcatta, including a couple of big saves from Birighitti to prevent attempts from Jesse Fuller and former A-League player Roston Griffiths as well. It would be up to Jamie McAllister to put the game beyond doubt as he beat Declan Hudson to finish emphatically past Campbell again to complete the 4-1 home win. Great stuff there for the NPL men's team. For the NPLW team, a bit of a disappointing result in the final of the 2025 NPL Women's Night Series Cup, as they went down 1-0 to maybe a little bit more of a fancied side in Balcatta Etna. Pre-season signing from Fremantle City, Dale Schroeder. She started in goals, and there was the back 4 of April Noscent, Kim McCartney, Matilda Boehm, and Violet Longmore. New coach Tim Glavovich, he opted to start Maya Archibald alongside Hannah Collins in central midfield, with Daisy McAllister and Sam Mathers on the wings, and Jess Flannery and Ruby Marshall had the responsibility of leading the line. Balcatta unfortunately did have the go-ahead goal in the 13th minute to give Balcatta that slight edge. Perth did chase the game with McAllister, Flannery, Archibald, chances only to be repelled by the Balcatta defence and some outstanding saves by former Perth keeper Rebecca Bennett. The match ending in 1-0 with Balcatta's Jamie Lee Gale taking out the Tracy Wheeler medal for the best on ground. For the girls, they'll look to see if they can bounce back this week, get back into the winning circle as they look to kick off their NPLW League campaign against Fremantle City on Saturday night. We'll have more about that very, very soon. That's a bit of an intro. I'm going to take a very, very quick break. On the other side of this, Mark Birighitti to join us on the Perth SC Podcast. Welcome back to the Perth SC Podcast. Great to have you with us once again, no matter where you are listening. Don't forget to spread the word as always. Fantastic to have a special guest on this evening. No matter where you are listening on this episode. Mark Birighitti back in town, back in his home state, back at his boyhood club. He's going to join us. So, Mark, welcome back to where it all began.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
No worries at all. Mate, I guess you've had a bit of time to reflect on coming home and playing for your boyhood club. What's it all been like?
Yeah, no, it's been kind of a whirlwind couple of months. Obviously, finishing up my contract in August last year in Scotland, and spending a bit of time in the UK with the family and with my in-laws, and having a good break because Scotland was challenging at times. We didn't do particularly well over there. So it was nice to have that break. And then, we sat down with my wife and kids, and we just decided, it was this whole uncertainty of, not knowing where we're going to end up. And we decided to move back to Australia, Perth, where I'm from. I've got 2 young kids, boy and a girl, Luca and Sienna, and, really put them as our priority. It was important for them to, have a bit of stability and, get them into school and, have a clean slate. So, we decided to come back, and, the rest is history. Perth reached out, and, look, I'll be honest with you, it wasn't my intention to, go back to the NPL. I feel like I still have, enough in me, to be playing in the A-League. So, when I got the phone call from Perth Soccer Club, it was a no-brainer. I said, look, initially I'll come in, train, get myself, back into shape, get into the rhythm of things. And I've enjoyed it. And, I was here for 5-6 weeks, and then I decided to, put pen to paper and get games and play in the night series and, get back to, what I love doing. And, that's playing football, and no better way to do it than playing for, the club I grew up for, many, many, many years ago. So, no, it's been enjoyable, and I'm really enjoying my football at the moment.
What are your memories about, of kicking a ball around this place as a young fella?
Yeah, it was crazy. Obviously, I started off when I was 6 years of age, and, I had my dad, Carlo, who was my first coach, and we weren't based there. We were based at Forest Park in Mount Lawley. And, from what I can remember, those days was, my dad being my coach. He'd come Sunday morning to pick the team. No one wanted to go in goals. All the kids were crying. No one put their hand up. So I was like, Dad, make your job easier. Give me the gloves. I'll go in goals. So, that stuck with me. And, I've enjoyed it. I love what I do. And then obviously over the years, I went up to the first team and, had some great coaches at the time and, played with some fantastic players, who have gone overseas and who have had, top careers. So, Perth's a great club. You see so many young kids that have developed here and have gone on to bigger and better things. And, it's a good breeding ground for those types of players.
The Birighitti name's quite synonymous with the Perth Soccer Club. Johnny, is that your uncle?
Yeah, Johnny's my uncle.
Okay, of course, one of the best coaches to ever play in coach in WA and play in WA, of course. Do you feel it's something that you have to kind of live up to with the name?
Yeah, no, look, absolutely. Obviously, big footballing background, the Birighittis. As you mentioned, Johnny Birighitti, my uncle, my grandfather Romano, my father. Look, obviously, we live and breathe football. We're Italian. It's 24/7. It's constant chit chat in the house about football. My poor mum, my sister, everyone. They've had enough. So that's been our life from when I was a young kid and up until now. So it's been a big part of my life, and it's shaped me into the person that I am today. And have to give everything to everything I've got now is from my father, from my uncle, pushing, working hard with me, advice, this and that. So it's been one hell of a journey, and I have my uncles and my father to thank for that as well. So.
You came through the local system and went into that AIS kind of system that existed at the time. Some great players coming through there. I don't think you can get bigger than probably Mark Birighitti, who went on to probably one of the biggest careers in Australian football. How did you get that move and get spotted? But do you think that system set you up well for the future years?
Absolutely. I remember how it come was Tony Franken, who I'm sure everyone knows here in WA. Fantastic guy, great goalkeeper coach. It actually come up. We had a tournament, I think it was in Canberra, with all the states, and I remember returning back to Perth, and I got a call from Tony Franken, and he was like, Steve O'Connor, the head coach at the Australian Institute of Sport, wants to have a look at you. I was like, yeah, perfect. So I went over there for a 1-week trial. There was me and another boy from Queensland. I don't remember his name. And we went over there for a week trial. We had Ronnie Corrie was our goalkeeping coach at the time there. Killed the trial, come back to Perth. And then I got a call from Steve O'Connor saying, look, Mark, we want to offer you a 2-year scholarship at the Institute of Sport. And I loved it. Honestly, it was the best time of my life. I was 15 years of age at the time. I was a bit scared, moving away from home for the first time. My parents were definitely 50-50 about it. Mate, what an experience. What a journey. I loved it. Great setup. You had everything there to succeed. Coaching, education. It was fantastic. There's not many programs out there that have the facilities that, it was top draw. And for a young kid to experience that was amazing.
Stints in the A-League, of course, Adelaide United you went to after there, and then, off to Newcastle, Central Coast. How do is there much variation between the way that these clubs operate, and then of course overseas, which I guess is just a level up? Yeah. Look, obviously, like I said before, I signed a 2-year scholarship at the AIS, but I was only there for 6 months. Aurelio Vidmar at the time come and watched me in a game. He's like, look, Mark, we want to sign you. So I initially went to Adelaide as a number 3 goalkeeper behind Eugene Galekovic. Daniel Beltrami was there at the time. As a name. And
then myself. But Beltrami always had injuries, knees, shoulders, this and that. So when I got there, I automatically got put in as the number 2. Adelaide was fantastic. I had great coaches. We made the grand final the first year. We lost to Melbourne Victory. And then we made the Asian Champions League final, which I played in the second leg at Hindmarsh at the age of, I think I was 16 or 17 at the time. And that was an unbelievable experience. But I was there for 4 years, learned under one of the best goalkeepers in the country, Eugene. But then I got to that age where I was like, look, I need to go and, establish myself as a number 1 goalkeeper somewhere. And was fortunate enough to sign with Newcastle Jets, which was another fantastic move. I had a great coach at the time in Gary Van Egmond who really believed in, developing young kids and, giving them an opportunity to, showcase what they can go. And I loved my time at Newcastle. I was there for 3 years, and then it had its ups and downs with ownership and coaches coming and going. So we didn't really have that stability that a club should have. So then I think it was a third year. I actually had a falling out with one of the coaches who was there at the time. And I remember we played in Adelaide and I didn't play. We got battered. And then I went back to the hotel. I was like, I'm not enjoying my football. So I phoned my agent up, Vince Greller at the time. I said, Vince, I just want something different. Can you find me something different overseas? I just want to get out of Australia, just experience a different type of football. And he phoned me a couple of days later and he goes, look, Mark, would you fancy going to Italy? He goes, there's a club in the Serie B. They're looking for a goalkeeper. Would you be interested to go over there on a 6-month? I go, oh, look, absolutely. I have an Italian passport. I come from an Italian background. Language won't be an issue. I'm living half an hour outside of Milan. I've got family there. So it was a no-brainer.
Yep.
So I flew out to Italy, and I loved my time there. Italy was...
Which
I
club?
was with Varese.
Varese, that's right.
Varese in the Serie B.
Yep.
I don't think they exist anymore. I think they went bankrupt and
Sure.
started from scratch and that. But loved the Serie B. Great league, great experience. I think in 6 months I was there, I played maybe 7 or 8 games. But I've become really close with the sporting director who his name was Gabriele Ambrosetti. I think Gianfranco Ciccardi played with him, I think, back in the day at Parma.
Right.
I'm not 100% sure, but they know each other. So anyway, Ambrosetti played at Chelsea back in the late 90s, and I've become really close with him. But I still had 1 more year left on my contract with Newcastle. So my loan ended. He goes, look, Mark, go back to Australia, have an unbelievable year with Newcastle. Wherever I end up next, you're coming with me. Right? So shot me bugger. I'll go back to Newcastle, finish off my contract. Had an unbelievable year. I think I won goalkeeper of the year that year. And get a phone call after that season from Ambrosetti. He goes, remember what I said? He goes, I've just got the assistant job role at Swansea.
Yeah.
You're coming with me. And that's how it happened. I moved to Swansea after Newcastle.
Were they in the Prem? They were in the Championship.
Prem then. Yeah,
okay.
Prem. So I moved over there, signed a 2-year deal with Swansea. And yeah, mate, it was out of this world. Premier League club, the players, the facilities. Yeah, mate, was tops. And yeah, look, it was scary. You know, you come from the A-League, you win the best goalkeeper in the A-League. You feel like, oh, you know, you're a good goalkeeper. You know, you've just won the award, you do this, you're in the net. But then you get to Swansea and you see the way they train. I was like, mate, I'm like a donkey compared to...
Little fish in a big pond now.
Do you know what I mean? That's what it was. And the intensity, you know, watching Fabianski train and, you know, watching these boys run in training. I'm like, what is this? Like, I've never seen anything like this.
Sure.
So, yeah, it was a real experience. And, yeah, I remember when I got there, I had a very good goalkeeper coach at the time. His name was Tony Roberts, who just recently was at AC Milan. And he used to batter me. And it was just 2-3 months. I never had a day off in 2-3 months when I got there. And I'd be on the floor and you used to say, come on up, we're going again. Mate, I was crippled. I could not walk. So it was around Christmas time, New Year. And we had it was like a 10-day break I think we had over that Christmas period. I was like, oh, beautiful. I'm going to relax, unwind. I'm just not going to, but I came back after those 10 days and I felt unbelievable. So yeah, look, it was an unbelievable experience training with those players, you know, traveling to stadiums that, you know, young kids that grow up in Perth can only dream of, you know, going to Old Trafford, warming up at Old Trafford, Anfield, the Etihad, White Hart Lane at the time. It was it was next level. But then obviously I was young at the time. Then the second year I was like, I need to go and play.
Yeah.
I need to go and play. Like, what's the point? I'm not going to play at Swansea in the Prem. And then I moved to Holland. I signed a 2-year contract there with Mark Birighitti. Loved it. Completely opposite to the English style of football. Very technical, tactical. And yeah, mate, I enjoyed my time there. Holland was a beautiful place to live. And then, the second year, new coach came in, had different ideas, and then, we decided to move back to Australia. And yeah, it's been a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Like, back to Australia, and then I was at Melbourne City, signed a 3-year deal initially, and then I left after a year, and then I moved to the Central Coast, where I loved playing. I loved my football there. I reckon I had probably my best years there at the Central Coast. You know, fantastic club, good people involved at the club. Same thing there, you know, there was problems with Charlesworth at the time with the ownership and all that kind of stuff. And then a bloke by the name of Richard Pell came in,
Yep.
you know, and funded quite a bit of money as well and looked after the football side of things. And that was probably the best thing that could have happened to the club.
Sure, they went on to win the treble. Yeah.
And they went on to win the treble, and he was really big on, you know, player development, academy. fitness, getting us like machines.
Yep.
And then his right-hand man.
He owns a fitness company,
Yeah,
doesn't he?
Anytime Fitness.
Yeah.
Then his right-hand man, Andy Burnell, was involved as well, who's been around the traps and, he's probably a legend of Australian football as well, like on the field and off the field. But Andy was a champion, mate. What a guy. But it was just a culture we had at the club. Like, it was just us against the rest. It was just, yeah, mate, it was unbelievable. We had Monty at the time, who was the coach, and he just knew how to bring the best out of every individual.
Yeah.
But in saying that, Stadge was there before him, who was tops as well, who was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I've got, can't praise him enough, Stadge. And then he left and he took the Philippines national team job, and Monty came in, and it was big shoes to fill because that year with Stadge, I think we finished, it was third, and then Monty came in. So there was a lot of pressure, and Monty, he smashed it. He just, like I said, him and Serge's assistant were just phenomenal, what they did for that club and the players they brought through from the academy and the amount of players they sold in the last couple of years. It's unbelievable.
It's always seemed the Central Coast, I mean, it's a mentality that we'd love, I guess, for supporters of Perth Glory to have that real us against them mentality. It feels like it's, if you're not one of us, you can,
Absolutely. And I remember, like, when I got there, if we got it right on the field, I'm like, this place is going to be rocking.
Yeah.
If they could bring in, like, the right players and bit of experience with these good young kids, we'll go a long way. And, mate, we started winning. We got off to an unbelievable start. From the years when they were finishing second last, they were probably getting 4,000 or 5,000 to the game. We were getting 10,000, 12,000 to every game, and it was a fortress. And it was just that mentality of us against the rest. We weren't scared of anyone. We played our football, and we knew once the fans got on our side, we were unbeatable at home. And yeah, mate, it was an unbelievable. I loved it. Like, honestly, I loved my time at the Central Coast. I built so many good relationships and connections with people in football and outside of football. And, it's disappointing to see the club now where it's going, because I feel like the years that, I was there and, Cummings was there and, these boys.
Sure.
And, we really fought hard and we really got that club back up to where it should be. And, to see the club now where it's at, with Richard Hill deciding to leave and, it's gone back to square one and, you hear and you see things and, it's not what you want, but, I feel like a lot of clubs in the A-League at the moment, are struggling financially and, it's not good to see. And it's frustrating because, it has potential, like, and it's just, I don't know. I don't know what's stopping us at the moment. I don't know what it is, but it needs to be sorted ASAP because it's so hard to see, mate. It's disappointing.
Yeah.
Because the product's there.
Yeah.
The product is there.
Yeah. I mean, the world's seeing that because they're paying money for our young players. Yeah.
Exactly. But it's just, I know you're competing with other codes and that, but still, if we can get it right, mate, the sky's the limit.
Does that involve for you? I mean, I'm a huge fan of promotion relegation, rewarding clubs
absolutely
on merit and giving clubs that carrot and that
absolutely. I'm a strong believer in it.
That ambition.
I'm a strong believer in it because I feel like without relegation, I feel like clubs are like they're okay with accepting mediocrity. You finish last. What are the consequences? You go on holidays earlier than the boys that are playing in finals. Yeah. Well, that's what it is.
That's all it is. Yeah.
So I'm a strong believer in it. I think it needs to come in.
And even for those clubs coming up, I mean, look at like someone like a Preston Lions or something like that. They're flying at the moment.
Exactly.
But they're capped.
Yeah.
They can't scale.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm a strong believer in it. I think, there's enough quality in and around Australia to have a second league, and it needs to start because it's an incentive for the club. Like, shit, boys, we've got 5 games left to go at the end of the season. We're last. Like,
get our skates on.
and overseas, you finish last, your salaries automatically get cut in half. There's a lot to play for, So, yeah, I'm a strong believer in it. I think the sooner it comes in, the better it will be for Australian football.
Mark, across those years, was there any resentment, or maybe you can correct me on that, about returning to Perth earlier, playing with the Glory or playing with Perth Soccer Club, or coming back home a little bit earlier?
Look, absolutely. I had...
And the reason I'm asking that is because there's been plenty of fans that know you're a WA boy, and we love our WA products, and we love them playing for our home teams. Yeah. And that question's probably been asked.
Absolutely.
Previously.
I'll be honest with you. Obviously, when my contract ended in Scotland last year, I could have stayed in the UK. There was a couple of clubs, but you just know when you have that feeling, there's something inside of you that's like, look, I'm ready to go back home.
Sure.
I had opportunities to stay in the UK. I had opportunities to go to other clubs in the A-League, but I wanted to come back to Perth. I wanted to get my kids into school and have that stability for my family. Absolutely. I'd love to end my career here. Absolutely. I'm 33. I think I still have another 5, 6, 7 years left in me. I've always wanted to come, and I've always said it to my wife, my parents, when the time's right, I want to end my career with Perth Glory. So, look, they know my situation. They know where I'm at.
In the meantime, you have got a job to do for a Perth Soccer Club in the Azuri too. So, look, I mean, coming back here, you are one of the players and probably the most experienced player that the club's had for a long time. What's the legacy and what's, I guess, the leadership and everything else and the mentoring that you want to leave here?
Absolutely. Like, obviously, we moved back and, I spoke with Jason and the hierarchy here, and, they wanted to bring me back, as you mentioned, to give the young kids that experience, that leadership, that, something that's been lacking at the club for several years. And for me, it was a no-brainer. I've loved it. We've got a young group here, a group that's learning, a group that's willing to learn and accept what Kenny's demanding from them. And I'm enjoying my role. I'm an older head at the back, guiding these young kids. I'm a winner. I want to win. That'll never leave me, whether I'm here or at an A-League club, regardless of the opposition. I want to win games of football. And that was the reason why, they decided to bring me back to the club. And, I'm using this opportunity, these games that I have with the club to get fit, to get in shape for what's next, because you don't know what's around the corner. I'll be honest, the hierarchy know, but my main objective is to play every game here at Perth, do well, win every game, and really guide these young players. And when the time comes with what's happening next, then, we'll sit down and discuss. But at the moment, my only objective is to play well here, do well with the club, and the rest will take care of itself.
And there's some great talent out there at the moment. Yeah. And it must be refreshing to come back and
absolutely
and seeing
but across the whole league, not only here, but across the whole league. It's hard to tell because we've only played one league game, and then obviously the night series, and it's hard to get a gauge on where clubs are at. But mate, it's unbelievable. We've played a couple of games now in the night series, and to see the young kids coming through, even with the Glory Youth, we had a friendly game against them the other night, and there's some good young players out there that could be knocking on the door at some A-League clubs. So it's good to see, and hopefully this trend can continue.
Just one more, mate. Of course, Friday nights, Fremantle City at home again at Dorrien Gardens, or the Perth San Siro, as I like to call it. Yep. What are you looking forward to, mate? Another opportunity for 3 points at home, essentially.
Yeah, look, another home game. We got off to a good start last week against Belcatta. I thought we dominated in every aspect against Belcatta. And, there's no easy games in this league. I'm expecting Fremantle to come out tomorrow night, fighting after a disappointing result they had against Perth Glory in round one. So, they'll be coming out raring to go and, giving it a red hot crack. But, I feel like if we stick to our principles and we stick to the way Kenny wants us to play, I don't think, there's any team that can come near us in this league, I'll be honest with you. So if we stick to our principles and, I feel like, we'll go a long way this season, but it's important we take, one game at a time. And tomorrow at home, good crowd. So, yeah, big 3 points tomorrow night and go from there and kick on from there.
And finally, mate, a message for the Azuri faithful who come out week in, week out to support you boys.
It's fantastic, since being back. I see it on a Wednesday and Friday night when I take my son to mini Rouge classes. All the parents get behind, and to see them here cheering us on every weekend, it's fantastic to see. And they really get behind the boys, and it's fantastic to see. And just everyone involved at the club, is fantastic. It's a great club to be at. One of the best. We've got the facilities. We've got good people at the club, and it's fantastic, and it's great to be back here.
Beautiful stuff, mate. All the best for Friday night and for the rest of the season.
Amazing. Cheers, guys.
Welcome back to the Perth SC Podcast. Big thank you to Mark Birighitti, who joined us in our last segment. It's a delight to be able to bring in one of the stars of our NPL women's team, Daisy McAllister. She's going to be very, very important and pivotal to Tom Klabovich's side this year. But she's a little bit nervous, but she's going to jump on board with us and have a chat. Daisy, how's things?
Yeah, good. Very good.
Yeah, great things been happening at Perth. And, of course, you just come out the back of the night series just very, very quickly. Not the result you wanted on the weekend.
No, not the result we wanted. I mean, it was a really tight game. Yeah, it was a struggle. Like, we found it pretty hard to get into the game, and obviously Balcatta are a really good side, and they were just able to neutralise like any attacking threats that we had. So yeah, it was a shame to not get the silverware with that game, but I'm still proud of the girls and how we played. So yeah,
very good. We'll come back to the football in the here and now in a quick second, but yep. I guess your journey and your connection to football, take us into a little bit of that. How did you first get started?
Yeah, so I first started playing when I was probably about 5 or 6. I just told my mum I wanted to play soccer because my older brother was at the time, and she looked up closest soccer club near me, and there was Perth Soccer Club. So yeah, I remember so clearly actually my first training with Perth because Ella Lincoln was in my team as well. Yeah, and then played here throughout my youth until I got picked up by NTC when I was about 11. And then, I was there all the way up until 17. And that was like, it's a lot, especially being in that program from such a young age. It's, really demanding environment. And at that point in my life, I was finishing my ATAR in high school and I actually had a year off playing after high school just because, I was pretty burnt out at the end of being in NTC for like 7 years or so. And then when I heard Danielle was going to be the coach for last season, I thought, it's perfect time to come back to the game, and been here ever since.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we think you're awesome, and we think you had you had a great season last year. Yeah. You'll be looking to, I guess, better that a little bit in 2025. Yeah,
definitely. I think this is like the perfect group of girls to do that with as well. So I'm really excited.
Excellent. You spoke about, I kind of just mentioned it last year. It was a hell of a side, let's be honest about that. Just fell short as far as the league. Took out the State Cup, which was absolutely magnificent. I like to call you, it was almost like the three-headed monster with with yourself there, with Ella Lincoln and, of course, Charlie Wainwright, who have now gone on to the glory.
Yeah.
What was it like to play with, first of all, what was it like to play with those two girls?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it was really funny, actually. We started the season last year with like 8 players at preseason, and we were like, where are we going to be this year with such a small squad? And somehow we managed to just gel so well together. And unexpectedly, we did, unexpectedly from the beginning of the season. But once we had started, I mean, we were just, it seemed like we were on fire and we were going so well. So it was really a privilege to play with those girls because they're such amazing footballers and people.
what I found great to watch was just the cohesion that you had in that side, particularly with you three, but then you throw Kim McCartney, Jess Flannery in there as well. I mean, how much work goes into finding that cohesion and that teamwork and everything else to make sure that you jump out there on game day and it all comes together?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just came from us really working hard. Like, we pushed each other so much at training. Like, I remember some of those sessions, it was just like an unreal tempo, and somehow we just managed to really understand each other on the park, and you could really tell when you watched us play just how much we worked together so effectively. So obviously with some great individuals as well. It was just, it was really, really easy actually for us to all get along on the field.
Your technical ability is particularly impressive. Is that something that you work on? Is that something that comes naturally, do you feel?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I feel like now it's natural, but then I think back to when I was a kid and I was playing, in the under sixes with the boys, and I would just, kick against the wall for hours and hours. So I guess maybe I built it to a stage where it was natural, but
and
probably it's from that.
You said that you grew up with an older brother, was it?
Yeah.
I mean, anecdotally, the female players that I've spoken to said that they're a lot better because they've had that experience. I mean, I've even spoken to people like Lisa Devana and Ella Master Antonio and these kind of players, and they said that was such a blessing because they got to that higher level and they were strong and they were tough. That they bounced back up when they got knocked over and everything else. Is that something that you feel is advantageous for yourself? Yeah,
definitely. I think I'm really grateful that I played with boys for such a long time.
Sure.
Because the physicality is something that you don't get when you play with girls, unfortunately. But it gives you that sort of edge. So when you do go back to playing with the girls, you sort of have that toughness to you that you get from playing with the boys. Yeah.
As far as your positioning, you played a more central role last year. I think Tom's tried you up front this year and even in the cup final on the weekend out wide.
Yeah.
Where do you prefer playing?
Well, I do like to sort of play as more of a high 10. Last year with Brogan, she really encouraged me to stay high. Me and Ella were sort of even. She was dropping it as a false 9 and I would go high. And I think this year Tommy does want me to sit more as like an 8, so not as high, which, I don't mind. But, it's really fun to go up and be able to stay high. But, it was interesting. On the weekend, I did find myself out wide a few times, but that wasn't
It wasn't by design. Okay, all right. I wasn't sure whether that was by design or what. And you mentioned Danielle and Tom. What's the transition been like from Brogues to Tom?
Yeah, the transition's been a lot smoother than I thought it was going to be. Like Danielle was such a great coach last year and a lot of the girls were sad when she was leaving. So we were like in a spot where how are we going to have a coach that we enjoyed as much as her? But Tommy's come in and it just has felt like such a seamless transition, really. I mean, I was really impressed with the quality of the training the first few weeks with Tommy. Especially in contrast to where we would have been a year prior. We were looking in a great position. So, I've been really pleasantly surprised. Not to say that I didn't expect Tommy would be a good coach, but no, I'm surprised that it's just gone so well.
What does the future look like for Daisy McAllister in a footballing aspirations?
I would just say like as far as I can go while still enjoying it, really. I don't have like a set goal in mind or something concrete at the moment. I'm just like seeing where it takes me, I guess.
Yeah. And outside of football, what's happening?
Yeah, so I study. Yeah, I'm in my honours year of psych at the moment. Wow. Yeah, so it's pretty full on. And then also, just working and other life stuff as well. So a lot to balance at the moment, but it's good.
And what are your personal goals for this year, 2025?
Well, I would say finish my honours. That is going to be a big one for me. And I really hope that we can take away the rest of the silverware for the season because I believe that we can. And so, that's pretty much my 2 goals for the year.
an unfortunate loss, as we mentioned, in the night series. Does that drive you for the season?
It does.
Yeah.
It does. I would have loved to have gotten the silverware on the weekend because it's such a long wait until the next opportunity to get one.
Sure.
But yeah, no, I think that'll just drive us even more because we wanted it so badly.
And it starts this weekend, Saturday night,
Yep.
5 p.m. at Dorrien Gardens against Fremantle City. What are you making of Fremantle City this year?
Yeah, I think they're a great side. From what we'd seen in the night series, especially coming up to our semi, they were looking like in great form. I mean, 3 wins from 3 games and dominated every single one of those performances. So, yeah, I think we definitely didn't underestimate them when we played them. But then, yeah, I think we had a really great game when we did verse them. So it'll be interesting to see them again because I'm sure they'll want revenge for that semi. But no, I'm super excited for us to follow through with the momentum that we've built so far.
Yeah, there certainly was some awesome fixtures against Fremantle last year. I do ask this for all of our guests, but I guess that it's important to acknowledge, I guess, all the fans and the family and everything that come along each week. What would you like to say to them ahead of the season?
We'll just thank them in advance for the support that they give. I mean, I love looking in the stands and seeing all the families and the friends of everyone. It's great. So, yeah, thank you is all I can really say.
Awesome. Daisy, thank you very much for jumping on.
You're
I know
welcome.
I hope it hasn't been too nervy
No, it's
for
been
you.
great. Thank you.
And all the best for the season.
Thanks so much.
So there we have it. Big thank you to Mark Birighitti. And, of course, just then was Daisy McAllister. And very much looking forward to getting behind both the men's and the women's team this weekend. Both teams in action at Dorrien Gardens. On the Friday night will be the NPL men. They're taking on at Fremantle City at 7 p.m. Another good test, but, an opportunity to rack up maximum points at home again. 2 home games on the trot for the Perth SC men's team. Also, look out for a little bit of fun with our crossbar challenge. That's all thanks to our very, very generous sponsors here at Dorrien Gardens. And we're also looking forward to the 18s and 23s. They're going to play on Saturday afternoon before the twilight kickoff, 5 p.m. The senior NPL women will take on also Fremantle City. That one, of course, at 5 p.m. So looking forward to that. We're going to wrap things up for another edition of the Perth SC podcast. Don't forget, always available through Spotify, through Apple, through YouTube Music. Make sure you get involved in the conversation. If you can, leave a nice little review and share the word of the Perth SC podcast in 2025. But good luck to all the teams this weekend, and come on, the Azuri.